Thank you so much. Make sure you are coming up with some good questions and listening intently. And Nurse Minela is going to talk to you about life in Bosnia. I guess you're doing before, after.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Before, after, a little bit of before, because I'm kind
Okay.
of, I was preparing for the after, but
Okay,
I couldn't,
yeah. Yeah,
and
just
then after coming here.
if you don't mind,
Yeah.
like just sharing just growing up and
Sure.
some of the good times and things
Yeah.
as well. So
Well, I was 7 years old, right?
Okay.
So just know that.
right.
And then I was gonna share a little bit of my husband's story, because I think that's really important, because
Okay.
he is actually the one that lived in the same city where the genocide
Right.
happened. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that too.
Okay. I'll be right over here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. For those that you don't know me, I'm Nurse Minela. I'm Mila's mom. I was born and raised in Bosnia, which is southeastern Europe. Bosnia was part of Yugoslavia. It was 6 different countries that made up Yugoslavia, and later Kosovo became the 7th, because Kosovo gained their independence, became independent in 2008, but before that it was part of Serbia. Before the war, all I remember is good times. I was 7 years old when the war started. It started in April of 1992. I remember fun times, going to the beach with my family, because Croatia was only 3 hours from Bosnia, and they have the most beautiful beaches, camping trips, traveling. Opinions, I guess, are separated when it comes to Josip Broz Tito, which was Yugoslavian president at that time. But from what I hear from my part of the family, because like I said, I was 7, and from my dad loved that man, even though we lived in a communist country. But we did have free health care, we had free education, even for colleges. We could travel freely all around the world. I know that Tito had good connections with Middle East and presidents there. So while healthcare was free at that time, we had good doctors, and we weren't as advanced as some of the other European countries, but I believe we had everything we needed. So Tito died, Yugoslavia separated, or became 6 different countries. Serbs in Bosnia. So Bosnia is a country that had mostly Bosniaks, which are Bosnians, they're Muslims. They had Serbs, so Bosnian Serbs, and then Croatians or Croats. All 3 nations lived in Bosnia. So whenever Yugoslavia, whenever broke apart, I guess, Serbs in Bosnia did not like that, because they wanted to be close, I guess, to Serbia, which is a neighboring country, and same with Croats. So Serbians in Bosnia had support of Serbia, and Croats had support of Croatia, and Bosnian Muslims were left inside a circle with no help. And there was no former military structure, because, we had one army in Yugoslavia, and now that we separated, Bosnia doesn't have army for it yet. So then, I think we gained our independence on March 1st of 1992, and then shortly after that is when the war broke down. So quickly, Bosnia formed an army, It was mostly Bosniaks or Muslims, but to me, my favorite are those Serbs that fought for Bosnia, are those Croats that decided to stay and fight for Bosnia. And every time I talk about heroes, I don't talk about Muslims heroes or Bosniak Muslims per se, because I'm proud of those that didn't let religion or anything else separate us and saw Bosnia as their country and fought for it. So, war started. I just remember watching news, everybody being in panic. My dad and mom having these conversations late at night. And like I said, army was forming, so now all men and boys, I think 18 and up, everybody was drafted. There's no weapons. UN or United Nations had put an embargo, meaning that nobody can give Bosnia any weapons. Nothing can come in. They're saying that's to protect or to de-escalate. It wasn't just, but, so we couldn't get any weapons or anything from anybody, but Serbia, since it was part of Yugoslavia and close to Serbians in Bosnia, sorry if I'm confusing you, were closer to Serbia, the country. So now they gave them stuff that they needed from the army, from Yugoslavian army. Same thing with Croatia is now supporting Croats inside of Bosnia. So, yep, no, so whatever we had, like whatever people had to, for entertainment or for hunting, or there was, the city that I lived in was called Novi Travnik, and it had a factory, military factory that was part of Yugoslavia. That's where all the weapons and stuff was produced from, for Yugoslavian army. So whatever was left there, because they took most of it before even the war started, Bosnians used. And so as the war progressed, I guess the more territory we freed, we would take whatever we could get from the other side. Okay, let me back up here. So I am 7 years old, and all of a sudden, like my whole world changes. Now there's airstrikes, a lot of them in my city, because that's the military base. I'm not military base, I'm sorry, military factory that they want to destroy and make sure that we don't produce any more weapons there. I just remember very loud noises, being scared. My dad having to go, and I remember holding his leg and crying a lot because we never know if we're going to see him again. He would sometimes be a week or a month in different front lines. I remember one time waiting for a bus for them to come back, and believe it or not, I didn't recognize him. He has lost so much weight. He has grown a beard, and he had to come to me because I was just still waiting for that man to come down those stairs from the bus, and I couldn't see my dad. My dad ended up being injured on the front lines. His story is that they were in this new built house that kind of had window seal, but not like actual windows, and he kind of peeked through a little bit, and the sniper came and hit him 2 centimeters from the heart. He said he remembered it not hurting, but all of a sudden kind of just feeling very warm. And he shouted that I've been hit. So his colleagues or his army friends had pulled him to safety and had to carry him for an hour in the blankets to get to EMS. Because remember, Bosnia has a lot of mountains, and these front lines are away from wherever EMS can get to you. So he ended up being in the hospital for 30 days. My mom has gone and visited him every day, sometimes twice a day, and it took her 2 hours to get to the hospital one way because she had to use different roads. She couldn't go, everything was this city of Novi Travnik. On one side we had Croats holding territory, and on the other side we had Serbs bombing us from the mountains. So there were different routes that she had to go through, but she would at least 4 hours spend just to bring him food to the hospital. And my brother and I would cry, and we missed our dad and wanted to see him, so she finally decided to take us, because it was kind of dangerous, but my dad also wanted to see us. We didn't know how he was doing, so we made that trip. I remember that hospital being so dark. And that smell, I can still smell it. There was army men everywhere, like injured. They were in the hallways. Imagine a third world country that has these really old bad metal beds and blankets that are torn and just barely any light, and he was somewhere in the corner, almost like under the stairway. And he had this big drain, and it looked like he was looked like a little suitcase that he stood up, when he stood up to greet us, he held it. So he had a drain connected to that suitcase, so I guess all the discharge and dirty blood would go into that. It was the hardest thing. I think it was, like I said, the hardest thing I ever saw and experienced, right? Everybody else, you're scared and everything, but you see your dad, it's a little different. But I think that is why I decided to become a nurse. I saw those nurses running everywhere, doing their best with bare minimum. They had nothing. Even when they did like